You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Jhon Townley. I'll be hosting today's debrief. Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 4, and I'm with Mat Kendrick. Matt, you okay?
Yeah, I still can't believe that score. And I still can't believe that I was believing that there'd be anything other than that score, to be honest, because it was very Aston Villa, wasn't it, today?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we. I know you only asked me how I was, but you know what I'm like. You just go off on one.
Yeah, it's a big question.
I thought we played pretty well, to be honest. I thought it was a little bit of architects of our own downfall again, particularly goals 1 and 2. That we conceded. I thought 3, you can't. That was just bad karma for Emery Martinez, wasn't it? There's not a great deal you can do about that one. And then the 4th one, you're just chasing the game. But I thought some of the football we played was good. I thought we set off with the right tempo. I thought McGinn coming back into the team, I thought he played really well. Lots of energy, kind of leading the charge, if you like, in terms of tearing around the pitch. But that's why Arsenal are, they're back on top, aren't they? Well, temporarily anyway. That's why they look like they're real challengers this year, because they find a way to win games. And I think a draw probably would have been fair. I'm probably being biased as a Villa fan, but I think we did enough to get a draw. But they got the quality in the end and the character to force the issue, hadn't they?
Yeah, I think a draw would have been fair. I mean, the one moment, obviously, they probably should have scored from before the Martinez moment was the Odegaard situation. But I don't feel like they, or not from recollection, I don't remember them like carving us open too many times or having chances where I don't know. It was all sort of, it's just our own undoing. Like, we'll go on to it. But the first goal, I thought that we conceded, Martinez's kicking wasn't great throughout the game. That sort of penned us back a little bit. And yeah, just really frustrating day. And obviously 4-2. I don't know where the last 2 goals came from. And yeah, really annoying. We'll start, as we always do, with going over the team. I think it was 3 changes, I believe. I think it was Moreno, McGinn and Coutinho who all came in. Bailey coming out, Luca Dean and Jacob Ramsey as well. Were you surprised by those, Matt, at all? I agree. I thought McGinn was excellent today. I thought Watkins was brilliant too. But in some of the pre-match shows that we've been doing ahead of the game, I thought McGinn and Coutinho would both come back in after both playing well against Man City. Moreno as well, I thought, in the last couple of games. So it wasn't necessarily a shock to me to see Ramsey and Bailey taking out the fire. Yeah,
I thought all three justified their places anyway. I thought all 3 of them kind of played well in dispatches, basically. It's an interesting one with Ramsey because he's had kind of an untimely injury, and so has McGinn. It's Kamara and Luiz have got those 2 sewn up pretty much now, haven't they? Those the 2 out of the 3 midfield. So I think it is a direct competition for Ramsey and McGinn, which I think is a good place for us to be honest. I think both of them can bring that little bit of perhaps energy that we don't have, or that tempo, or that desire to make things happen. So I don't know what I say. Was I surprised? I didn't get into Villa Park till about 28 minutes past 12 because I went to watch my daughter play football in Wolverhampton, and then my wife dropped me off at the Tesco's by Villa Park, and I just about got there in time. So I missed all the fuss about Tom Hanks. Or did Hanks come on the pitch anyway, or not? Or was that just?
I usually get in there quite early, so I come in pretty much as soon as the gates opened, and he was there with Purslow, just out towards the tunnel, like underneath the press zone. He was there with Purslow for a bit, and then he sort of went as the fans started to trickle in. Probably a wise decision, but yeah, he didn't look like Tom Hanks up until the end. And I said to my dad, "Oh, that's Tom Hanks." That's why there's a big fuss trying to work out who it was, but. Yeah, shame for him.
He's one of the world's best actors, mate. He's a master of disguise. Very Christian Purslow, that is. He's seen Will Ferrell doing the rounds in the last couple of weeks. He thought, well, no, hang on a minute, forget about that. We'll get Tom Hanks in at Villa Park. I met Tom Hanks. Have you seen my picture of me and Tom Hanks?
I haven't, no.
I'll bore you with that, mate. After I'll ping you, I'll WhatsApp you. But we'll get on to the match in a minute. But yeah, we saw him at a game in Portland, I think, on a pre-season tour. So he has watched the Villa before. Yeah. And our press room was right next to his objective box. And we thought we're just going to have to go in. So we're just going to gate. So I'll show you a picture later, but he looked shocked from the weirdo. But anyway, what was the original question, John? You were talking about the team changes. Yeah, listen, I think we'll go on to this later, but I think his changes to the starting 11 worked better than he. I'll talk about his subs later because I'm unsure whether they were the right ones or the wrong ones, or whether it was just coincidence that it got away from us. But no, I wasn't particularly surprised by the starting lineup, but I was pleasantly surprised by the way that we started the game and we tried to kind of have at least a two-man press rather than Watkins leading it on his own.
Yeah, and I think we started well enough to score a goal. We seem to score a lot of early goals at Villa Park since Gerrard was sacked. Obviously, I think it was 3 and 15 minutes against Brentford. We've touched on it before. We had obviously Man United as well and Leeds. Loads of goals that we scored, and it was always at the Holt end. But then, obviously, today we were kicking towards the north. So, yeah, strange one that. But, yeah, really good start. And obviously, we'll speak about Watkins, but when he had that chance, I was never, I'm a massive fan of Ollie Watkins, and people who on the podcast will know that. But this was probably the first time, or one of the first times that, during his time at Villa, where he shifts on his left foot, and I actually think, he's standing up. I think it was Saliba, and I thought he'd score, and that's only a positive thing, because he's been in such good form recently. The goal came about, I think it was Matty Cash who just nipped in, wasn't it, and drove a little forward, and then a good ball to Watkins too. But as soon as he stood up the defender, I was in no doubt that all he's got to do is slam that across goal, and I backed him to do it, and he put it away really well. And yeah, really good start from Villa. Obviously, we'll go on to the goals, but what did you make of the opening, Matt?
Yeah, he's become the bless him. He's probably become the master of the consolation goal, hasn't he, Ollie Watkins, in the last few weeks. But he's on a decent streak now. I think 44.
Yeah.
I think it is, and typical fickle Villa fan. When Cash burst through him, I thought Cash played a lovely ball. I was cursing Watkins because I thought his first touch had taken him too wide. I was like, oh god, that one's gone again. And then in the next breath, I'm eating my own words because he's he's created that little bit of space and he's drilled it past Ramsdale. So we do seem to have this really, really encouraging habit of leading games at Villa Park early, but we also have this really, really frustrating habit of giving the initiative back to the other team. I think you touched on it a minute ago, John, when we know that Emery wants us to play from the back and to be methodical and to try and keep possession and build slowly that way. Again, that goal has come from Martinez trying to kind of pick out his fullback and getting it wrong and it going out for a throw-in, which has handed Arsenal the ball. And then the guy next to me, who sits next to me, he said before the game, he said, what do you think? He said, Mings signed his contract. Do you think he's going to do something heroic or something, catastrophic?
Yeah.
And he made that goal on clearance, didn't he, at first? From Ben White, was it? And I think it was offside anyway. But I thought, so I looked at him, I thought, hopefully it's a heroic day. And then, kind of 5-10 minutes later, he's I'm not sure what he's doing. I don't think he couldn't get the momentum on that header to get it beyond the edge of the box. So you've either got to look to see if you can manoeuvre that out of play for a corner, or you've got to, at least move it, head it to the right towards the touchline. He just sat up. I mean, Saka absolutely
good finish, yeah.
Altered it, didn't he? But it's those moments that keep coming back to haunt us.
Yeah, again, avoidable errors. I'm not sure what Mings was thinking with the header. We've had those moments. I think it was Chelsea a few months ago when Mason Mount scored from a Mings header. It just lapses of concentration, whatever it may be. But again, we always start well and we get the goal that we need, and then as you say, we pass over the initiative, and we're not going to get anywhere with that sort of. I don't know what it is. It's a mentality, or it's hard to put your sort of finger on. But so we start well and then give it away. But I would say that the response after after they equalised, I thought was good, because as soon as they equalised, you would have thought, oh, okay, well, they've got the sort of momentum now. We've had our 10 minutes of fun, and they'll come back and maybe get another. But I was really pleased with how we responded, because although, Arsenal are one of the best teams in Europe and they're top of the table, Man City have scored, haven't they? So they're not top of the table anymore. But they're one of the best teams in Europe. So we're never going to, dominate a game from 1 to 90. So we're always going to be under the cosh for 20-minute spells here and there, like we were at the start of the second half and like we were as soon as they equalised. But we held out well. Again, we sort of restricted them to no real chances. And again, I think that's a positive. And then we get the second goal, which I thought was an excellent goal. That's surely going to be down as a contender for goal of the season in terms of the move. I think it was Kamara who broke up the play, or at least took the ball in the middle of the pitch and waited for Moreno to make his run down the line. I think he waited a few seconds for him to sort of move behind Ben White and slip him down the channel rather than play it to his feet, which is good. Slips it back, and then Buendia skips over the ball, and Coutinho finally gets his first goal since it would have been Man City, wouldn't it? The end of last.
Is that how long it's been? Is that his first goal of the season?
Yeah, I think he was one. That was his only goal contribution in 30 games. The Man City one, so obviously now it's 2 in 31, which isn't much better, but it's a start. And to be fair, he got that goal as well, did against Leicester, although it was chalked off, so it means nothing. But he seems to have more energy and enthusiasm about him. I don't think he could do 90 minutes though, Coutinho, so that's obviously a problem. But yeah, the second goal, Matt, that was a really, really well-worked goal. Something that you'd expect from Arsenal, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll go to bed dreaming of that one. I'll probably have to have a few cans to make me forget about the rest of it. But I'll. It was just. I'm not trying to claim credit for this, by the way. I'm not sure Marino could hear my my brummy twang from the top of the Trinity. But I was saying, make the run, make the run. Just got to make the run. And it was just. I just thought it was a beautiful goal. I'm still not sure my favourite bit. I'm not sure whether it's the pass through to Marino, whether it's the step over from Buendia, or just the finish. Because I think the finish, he looked like he was setting him to stick it in the bottom right, and then he's kind of whipped it back the other way and almost sent Ramsdale the wrong way. And I just thought it was a sublime moment. And again, the fellow next to me, I was like. I said, let's just hope, because he's a bit younger than me, but we were old and cynical. I said, let's just hope that goal's worth something at the end of this game. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, it's a bit too early to say that's going to be the winner or to say that's going to pave the way for the victory. But it was a great moment. Yeah, even if it just becomes a consolation. It's an interesting one, isn't it, Coutinho? Because I think that him and Buendia, stick him in a five-a-side team and they'd be brilliant, wouldn't they? I don't think you'd get the ball off them. I think they'd be so clinical. But I think this is why, and I'm jumping ahead in here, but I think this is why Emery changed its second half, because they weren't getting much of a look in second half. And like you said, Coutinho tires a little bit anyway. And I think he thought, if we're not going to get much of the ball, we're going to have to go direct. So we're going to get Bailey on there to, any opportunity we get are going to be on the counter. But when they're working, when they're on that wavelength, when they're in tandem, it's beautiful to watch. Sadly, it doesn't. And this is not me digging out at either of them, but it doesn't happen often enough.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why, I don't know, we're Villa fans, but if they're on song and they're always at the top level, they're probably not playing for Villa, because they can be that quality of player, but it's the inconsistency that's like when we signed Buendia from Norwich, I expected him to be at the level that we know he can be, but more consistently, and you just don't see it. It's been a year and a half now, I suppose, since he signed for the club, and it's coming up to 2 years at the end of this season. And I don't remember 3 or 4 games on the spin where he's at the top level. And again, today I thought he was bright in stages, but then he goes missing. And when Coutinho and him both go missing, that's when they're both dropped and not in the team. But then you just say, when they're on song, they can produce moments like that. So it's a conundrum for Emery, especially for next season, because you've got different profiles of player, like a Bailey, who we know is quick and has got a trick, and he can take players out of a game and come inside and maybe frustrate us. Same as Traore, very similar players. And then you've got Buendia and Coutinho, who are very similar in their own way. Jacob Ramsey's different, but they're all neither here or there, in my opinion. They don't spend 4 games, say, on top of their game. So, to me, we need more reinforcements there. And I know that's spending more money, but I don't think that, again, it's just consistency. And we've seen it today, which is great. But then, you go to Everton and then you've got Palace and Bournemouth. Are they going to show up for those games? We don't know because we haven't seen it. So, yeah, like someone for Coutinho, he was incredible when he first joined. That was the Coutinho that we saw at Liverpool. And then he went off the boil a bit. Then we obviously signed him and now he can't complete 90 minutes. So it's, I probably made a negative out of a positive there, but that's probably my overall thoughts on the pair.
No, I think we are that's the life of a mid-table team.
Yes.
To be honest, the more you get, Buendia shining, 3 weeks out of 4 rather than 1 or 2 weeks out of 4, then we move up another place, and then his teammate starts delivering that consistency. So I think it's one of those ones where I think the thing that frustrates me is that we're doing some of the difficult bits in games. We creating chances, we scoring goals. I'm just trying to look at the last time we failed to score. It's been a while. I'm just looking.
Have we failed to score under Emery? I don't think we have.
I'm not sure. Let me just. I'm sadly not got these stats at my fingertips, but I'm just having a little look. But it's been a while, I'm sure. No, I think we've scored in. So the last time we didn't score was Aaron Danks's second caretaker game when we lost 4-0 at Newcastle. So we score in goals, which it's a bit of a cliche, but it's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
So if we're doing that, and listen, I thought for 60 minutes last week we got a bit of a not pasting, but we got a bit of a lesson last week at Man City. But we've conceded 11 goals in the last 3 games now. I think 8 of those at home, and it's just basics. It's just basics. Until we were able to eradicate that, the lads at the top end of the pitch they've got the work cut out, haven't they?
Yeah, it's true. And again, I've spent 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, I spent 5 minutes there sort of saying that Buendia inconsistent, Coutinho's inconsistent. But the point is, we are scoring goals. And I was coming out of the game today and people were saying, we've conceded like 11. Is it 11 in 3 now?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, you need to add context to that. Like one of the goals today come off Martinez's back, and the other one was obviously a goal that we shouldn't, it's never going to concede if we didn't concede the other one. But then I'm like, well, if you want to get in the top 7 or top 6, you can't just think, but we played Man City, but we played Arsenal. Yeah. You've got to compete against those teams. Like when we were getting top 6 football under Martin O'Neill, we'd beat Chelsea 2-0 at home. We'd get results on the road. We can't. This is just for me. I don't know how anyone else feels about it in the comments or yourself, Matt. But I was almost coming in thinking, it's a City, it's an Arsenal, they're free hits. But next season we can't have that mentality. We have the mentality of Watkins has scored in the first 5 minutes. We keep a clean sheet and win the game. So, yeah,
I don't think we approached the game like that. Certainly not today. I don't think we approached it with any kind of fear or trepidation. We're playing against, a team with a really good chance of going for the title. So I don't think it's an inferiority complex as such. I just think it's not being able to control those moments. And I keep harking back to Emery's first game against Man United, where the one word that came out of that for me was control. It was controlled performance. It was control. Keep the ball when you need to. Take chance. Only gamble when you've just play your percentages basically. And I think that is his mantra. He wants us to do that. He wants us to kind of, really. I mean, it's a bit of a crap analogy, but the kind of like the boa constrictor when you kind of squeeze the life out of opponents. And sometimes you might have to do it slowly, and sometimes you can do it quickly. But I think individuals. Or just individual moments, probably rather than individual players as well, are kind of letting us down. And the good teams, the successful teams, the consistent teams, are the ones who are able to kind of minimise those moments, basically. But yeah, I thought it was a really good game. To be honest, I thought it was really entertaining, and I don't know. It's probably makes me being a bit petty, but it was as much as wanting us to get the points, it was to try and frustrate them as well. But I thought the Arsenal fans were good. I thought Arsenal, I wouldn't say they played like champions because we're a long way to go in improving that. But I thought that they were quite calm considering that they've had a bit of a wobble in the last couple of weeks. I didn't know whether they were going to come out like a kind of wounded animal and absolutely batter us or come out wobbling. But I thought even when they conceded, they got the ball back again and they started probing and they started pressing. And, you say they didn't really carve us open that often, and I agree with it. But every time they got the ball down that right flank, my kind of heart was in my mouth because I think they moved us around a little bit, even if they didn't always make the most of it.
Yeah, they had because I was coming to the game thinking, but they are a bit predictable now. We know who's going to be playing. We know they're going to be playing where. But the way that Arteta's got them set up, it's always a Saka on the right, and then Odegaard always drifts over towards him, and then you've got Ben White too, and then we're stuck with a Coutinho and Alex Moreno, who's been kind of untested since he signed for us. So you're right, that was always there. But you almost feel like they should have had not necessarily more joy, because they had a lot of joy, but they didn't really make, as you say, too much from it. I actually thought we dealt with it relatively well. Just picking up on the point you made there, Matt, about the controlling games bit, I think that's a good point, because what we've seen from Emery, and the best we've seen from Emery so far, obviously the Spurs win away, the Brighton win away, all those, that we know that's what will make us a top 6 team, a top 7 team, and all the teams that have got into that, like a Wolves, for example, under Nuno, it wasn't necessarily brilliant to watch, but they would always, again, control a game, and you know that they could go to games away and win like they would at home, and West Ham as well. So it's the proof's in the pudding. That's what happens. So that's where we need to go from now. But it is alarming that all of a sudden, after his first 6 or 5-6 games, we're now conceding a lot of goals. And again, just because it's City and Arsenal doesn't mean that you kind of get a free pass with that. And bring up a comment quickly from Dream Villain. Their equaliser was basically the same as Stevenage, and I can't for the life of me understand why we haven't picked that up. It baffles me completely, because it's not, it was a quick corner, but not quick as in we're all completely out of the place. We have, I think it was every man in the box, and I don't know why we can't, or someone will be picking up the short corner, but why? Surely we need to be thinking to get out and close. I think it was Zinchenko, wasn't it, at the edge of the box? I don't understand. To me, that's the most basic of basic things. Every man marks someone, surely, or is that being too simple?
No, well, it looked like a carbon copy to me, and even after they scored from that, they were still doing it at short corners, and we still weren't that sharp to it. And you could see a couple of players going out to the corner taker and whoever was taking it with him. Sorry, I'm my old age, but I can't remember. You could see 2 of our players going across, but then still the person playing, on the edge of the box. Nobody thinking to go and close him down. Like you said, it just seems to be basics for me. And this is probably a very simplistic way of looking at it. But knowing that Arsenal had to force the game, probably, listen, I know we're at home and the owners should be on us, but the points probably mean more to them than us at the moment in terms of where it can get them and what they can achieve. Yeah. Knowing that Arsenal had to force the game, why do teams, ignorant old man here, but why do teams always never refuse to put a player further up the pitch from when you're defending set pieces? Because Arsenal are able to bring everybody in and around Villa's box, whereas you put Bailey up high, or Duran, or you put Watkins up high, you're at least taking 1, possibly 2 people out of the way, and then it probably limits the options of what they can do, either with bodies in the box or bodies around the box for short corners. But one of our tactical experts at work, one of our scouting writers, did explain once why it was done, but I can't. I clearly couldn't.
I'd love to know.
Have you got any kind of tactical nous in why?
No, that was again like Sunday League. The quickest guy on the pitch, if you're defending a corner, go stand on the halfway line. So if we could boot it, and I know it sounds simple, but it's right, because it takes a man out from their side. Like, you would have thought Zinchenko, if we've got a Villa player behind him, he's thinking, "Oh, well, I got someone on my shoulder," or just man mark him. I don't understand it, and I'd love to be proven wrong, but I don't know. I can't see an argument against it. I know it's like wise after the event, but we've seen Stevenage. It's going to keep happening. And you say it wasn't just the Zinchenko one. They worked one to Saka as well to try and make it 3-2, and we didn't mark that. And I think his shot was blocked or something, or it might have even been before Jorginho. Was Jorginho as a set piece as well? It's completely gone out of my head because I've been mad, but I don't know where that came from. I would have presumed it was from some sort of set piece somewhere. And again, it's whatever it is, it's at the edge of the box, and we don't have someone on him, and we're not quick enough to mark him. And we'll speak about that goal. Obviously, it was a nice hit, but technically off target because it's hit the bar. So
on the Zinchenko goal, was that the one where people are saying that Nketiah was in offside position?
I think it was the Jorginho one. And the only thing I would say about that would be, and I don't know because I'm not a referee, although I don't know if the referees know either. because it's hit the bar and come off Martinez. I don't know if that means that it's like a different phase of play. I've no idea. Just because it's not. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm making that up. But to me, that would be offside, wouldn't it? Because his vision is he doesn't have the right vision. So who knows? He might not have even dived for it because he would have thought it was hitting the bar, which is unlikely. But you can't rule it out. So yeah, I suppose you've got a claim for it to be offside. But I'll be honest, it's hard to sort of. I don't have the energy to bring up a. What's happened, and it was going to happen. Let's be honest. I think on the 80s,
wasn't it? The script was set. There's a mate of mine who's an Arsenal fan, and he was saying, "Oh, Martinez got what was coming to him because of all his time wasting." I said, "Don't take it personally." I said, "He's not just done that because it's you. That's his game." But
can we talk about that? Why just quickly? Why do Arsenal fans boo Martinez? I don't get it, because he won an FA Cup and then left because he wasn't getting game time, and then they booed him. I don't get it. Unless I've missed something that he said about them, but I don't understand it.
To be honest, I
don't think years there. They didn't give him a chance, and then he won an FA Cup for them.
Well, yeah, I was half thinking, when they were. I mean, he was when it's your player, you like a bit of the kind of the whatever the housery, the shit housery. I've said it, but I can understand. I'll get my words out in a minute. I don't know why they don't like you, but I was laughing when they were doing when he was wasting time and when he was trying to kind of run down the clock, and they were giving him loads of stick. I was thinking, well, like you said, he waited long enough. He waited long enough for you. You know what I mean? He waited long enough for you and us at Arsenal. But listen, if you're on the other side of that, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're going to absolutely bask in that, aren't you? You're going to love it. The ball, he wastes time. He tries to frustrate you, and then the ball goes in off the back of his head or off his back or whatever. So, I know it's hard after a defeat, but if the boot was on the other foot, we'd be absolutely reveling in it, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it's like if they could make a perfect trip to Villa Park, that would probably be the script, wouldn't it? You could argue that Martinez's. Well, no, you can argue that it was Martinez's fault for the fourth goal as well. And I know Emery has spoken about that. I think he was asked, "Did you let him go up?" And he said no. So I'll be honest, I don't like that, because I don't know how that can happen. I don't know. So has Martinez just decided upon himself? Obviously, because I'm embarrassed by the ball's gone off my back and I feel like I need to make amends for it. I'm going to go up for the corner now, and that's presumably what he's done. I don't know the full story, but if Emery has come out and said that he didn't order him to do that, then Martinez is just. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Matt? Because I think that's.
I think I'm in danger of being a bit wise after the event here, because you see goalkeepers going up lots of times and it not necessarily scoring, but it not ending in that kind. My thought is, if you're going to put that many people in the box, why don't you just have Matty Cash up there? Because Martinez probably edges him in terms of height, but Matty Cash, you'd imagine, heads the ball more often than Martinez does. So if you're going to do that to force the issue, because that's what you're trying to do, to overload the box as much as you can, why Martinez in the box and Cash standing outside? I don't understand it. But listen, the game was gone. The game was gone by then. So I'm not going to be too. Listen, I've quoted you 11 goals in 3 games conceded stat, but I'm not too fussed about that. It was the one before it that really hurt, rather than that one.
No, yeah, I don't leave games early before people say in the comments that I'm a plastic fan or whatever. But as soon as the ball went over for Martinelli, my seat's relatively quiet. It's in the Trinity and it's quite close to the seats. As soon as he took it past the halfway line, I started to go, I'm not seeing that. But I don't. I know there's been a lot of comments about it as well, but I just don't like the precedent that Martinez feels like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this on myself. Like, I don't know whether, and I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but would he do that on Emery's first game, for example, before he's won a World Cup? Do you know what I mean? He's not going to just randomly do that. I don't know if he's getting a bit like, I don't want to say anything out of order, but I just don't feel like he would do that if he hadn't. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. It becomes
you're not more powerful than the manager. If the manager told you to do it, then that's fine. But if he hasn't given you that order, I don't think you can do that, because you're just risking us a goal, and we don't want to lose the game 4-2. So
I think it's a team sport, and in those moments you've got to put the team first. And he probably is feeling a bit embarrassed and a bit frustrated and wants to right a wrong as quickly as he can. But I don't know. I don't watch him in training. I don't know how many heady goals he scores from corners in training. to be honest. So
maybe he held Neil Cutler in the back of his head. Go on, Emmy. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll cut him some slack on it because we know how good he is. But yeah, I just don't like the idea that a player has felt the need to go not against the manager, but not done it on his command. I'm not keen on that. Yeah, I suppose we've got to just bounce back against Everton now, Matt, with 3 losses on the bounce, which is all of a sudden becoming well, it's a bad run. Obviously, we've played Arsenal and Man City in there. But yeah, we need to bounce back against Everton, else it's going to be a long end to the season.
I'll tell you the thing that amused me. It amused me at the time when we were still 2-2. Didn't amuse me when they went on and won the game. It was when Arteta was having a bit of a freak out on the sideline because the referee had brought back the free kick because the ball was rolling, and Arteta's giving it like this, like loads, and like mocking the referee. And I thought, well, I heard, yeah, this is bitter Villa fan talking now, bitter hurt defeated Villa fan talking, but I heard something on the radio yesterday or this morning saying Arteta saying that he thinks that Arsenal would be the people's champions, and that neutrals would want Arsenal to win. And I thought, well, I wouldn't mind. You know, I don't tend to look that high up the league, but I don't mind Arsenal winning, but because it's somebody new and it's shaking things up a little bit. But I just think little bits of pettiness like that don't do you any favours. I mean, I think Xhaka had been taken off, hadn't he, and then ran onto the pitch all the way from the Trinity dugouts to celebrate with the Arsenal fans. Thinking, well, maybe I'm just being a little bit sour grapes and a bit petty, but you know, if you want to kind of win as champions and be the people's champions, or there is no such thing, just do it with a bit of class.
Yeah, I think there was a moment last year when they won late against Wolves as well. I think they've got that sort of streak in them, haven't they, Arsenal? People's champions. No one's a people's champion unless it's your own club. I've never really understood that. But yeah you're certainly not going to be Arsenal if they're going to do things that, again, like if it's your club, you don't care. But, you know, you can't really... Yeah, I understand.
Well, listen, I'm just moaning for the sake of it, and listen, maybe that is the mark of Arsenal have been accused of being a soft touch in the last since Wenger left, really, and for the 2 or 3 years before Wenger left. So maybe having that little bit of kind of arrogance, that edge, that streetwise nature, maybe that is what's the difference. Maybe that's the extra steel that's made them challengers this year. So I'm just bitter because I thought that we should have got something out of that game. So. Yeah, just in case we get any Arsenal fans digging me out in the comments. Hey, what did you think of? I'm jumping all over the place here. What did you think of the Bailey chance that Ramsdale's managed to do? Ramsdale's touched that onto the bar, hasn't he?
Oh, we did, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that, Matt. Yeah, was that a breakaway from a corner? I'm not too sure.
But you remember, the ball looked like it was heading out by the dugout.
He did have
the best first touch you've ever seen. I think people thought there's no way he's going to keep that in, and almost kind of took a breath. The Arsenal defence, he managed to kill it, get away, and hit it quite cleanly. And I just thought it's those moments in it. Sometimes those moments can decide titles.
And that was the point where I turned to my dad and my brother and I said, we know what's happening. Sort of that was the script, as we just said. He had a moment a couple of minutes before then, if I remember, and he shifted it onto his left from Gabriel, and it was like a bit of a one-on-one situation. You just think, just bend it towards the far corner like you usually do. And I think he chopped back on his right, and it was like, that's probably just an unconfident Leon Bailey. And then when he had the second chance, which is one we've just said, that's when he hits it with his right foot, which he wouldn't do normally. So, yeah, that's the difference. I think Jhon Duran also had a moment as well.
I don't think he ever believed he was going to score that. Well, I didn't believe he was going to score it anyway.
Bailey was running down the middle again, but I actually thought the right option was to just continue running because whatever I don't know how to say it, but when it was a 2-on-1, I think. And so as far as you go, there's always going to be an option to play it to Bailey or the goal will open for yourself. But I think did he hit it with his right foot or with his left foot? I can't remember. I think he was
onto his left and just kind of didn't get hold of it very well. What did you think of him, John?
Again, really impressive. I really like him.
What do you think of John being spelt with a H in front of an O?
I was going to change my Twitter name to that when we signed him, and I thought, no, that's just weird. But I really like him. I turned to my dad and my brother and I said, who does he remind you of? Because I can't work it out. It's like a mix of different players, which is a good thing. I like that he's just come in straight away and he doesn't look out of place at all. He's obviously got the physicality for the league already, which is great. He's obviously a big size. He's quick. He seems to have a good touch as well. He puts himself about. There's not a lot wrong with him, but I do remember when Keenan Davis had the best debut that I've ever seen against Norwich. Do you remember that when he the Conor Horan hat trick in the 4-2? He slammed the bar or something, Davis, and he didn't quite get his goal, but he was incredible. We need to obviously see Jhon Duran score a couple of goals, but again, he's 19 years old in the Premier League. Like, I think what he's doing is superb, and it's really exciting. It'll be interesting to see what we do in the summer. I know Emery wants to sign a more experienced striker, but at the moment you've got Ollie Watkins, who's one of the informed players in the league. Only Haaland and Rashford have scored more goals than him since the World Cup ended, and then Jhon Duran, who's looking really good. So I wonder how he's going to. I suppose they'd play where Bailey has been playing. So yeah, we do need a striker. It's just interesting to see which sort of profile he goes for. But in terms of Duran, I've been really impressed with him.
I think he's I don't know how to say this, 'cause it probably sounds like I'm slagging him off, but I don't mean it like this. I think he plays like, well, certainly the bits that I've seen, I've only seen the same bits as everybody else in the last couple of weeks. He plays like a fan would play, not in terms of ability, just in terms of the way he's putting himself about. He's got energy. Yeah. I think there's time he'd only be on the pitch about 2 minutes. He was trying to lift the fans today, and he just got that real kind of, I don't know, just intensity about it.
Yeah. There was a moment. I think it was the ball went out a couple of minutes after he had that chance, and did you see him? He just slumped he fell on his back or something inside the box. And I was thinking, get up! The ball's still in play. I don't know what he's doing, but he's got that energy about him, and he lifts the team, I think, when he comes on as well. So I know there's probably a lot of calls for him to start games, but I think at the moment, him just coming off the bench, it gives you an extra, 10% or whatever it may be. And after he did come on, that's when we had the Bailey chance. That's when we had his chance, and then another Bailey chance. So, against Man City, we score straight after he comes on. Against Leicester, he was only on the pitch for a couple of minutes, but he looked good. And today we could have scored a goal as soon as he's come on. So he creates a bit of chaos too, which is good. And my only thing is that I don't know what striker develops rapidly up until they're 21 and is so good to start for a team in the Premier League. That's my only thing. It's usually a more gradual thing, and they'll get to the top level at 25 onwards. Yeah. So we would have made a really good signing for him to be where we want him to be in only a couple of years. That's my only thing. I think he's a bit too young at the moment, but only positives to say about him.
I don't think that rawness is a bad thing, though. Like I say, we're not going to be starting with him every week, but if he can give you that different dimension, and for all Ollie Watkins is kind of determined running, he's not going to kind of bully that many defenders, Watkins. And I think if you've got somebody who can come on and do it a little bit differently, then it just gives you the option to change games up, doesn't it, late on? And just the only other thing I was going to mention, I don't know whether we've probably been through a lot of it chronologically. Just McGinn, I thought, there's lots of question marks about McGinn. There's question marks when he got the captaincy, and people saying that he's not been the same for a couple of years. And as the team outgrown McGinn, I think it's a bit unfair on McGinn to kind of question. Listen, he's got to fight for his place like everybody else. But today I saw somebody who does want to fight for his place, who does want to play for this manager and really be part of this club. I don't think he was on the ball that often. I think, he tried to wriggle through, didn't he? Had a bit of a weak back pass of a shot towards the end second half. But I actually think that just, if that's his first game back and he's going to be a little bit rusty after injury, I thought to play with that kind of, like I say, that intensity and that tempo, I thought he was really impressive.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned this stuff about on the ball. Again, this isn't the game for that, but we do know he come up with a key moment against Brighton to win us that penalty. And I think he played the ball through for Douglas Luiz against Tottenham, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So we know he's got quality anyway, but I think him being in that more advanced role where he doesn't have to look over his shoulder and cover the right back like he was doing under Gerrard and towards the back end of Dean Smith as well, he has that license to be more free and be the sort of motoring John McGinn that we know he can be, that we saw in the Championship. So that's taken his game, not necessarily onwards, but it's just allowed him to be the player that we know he can be. So, there was a lot of criticism for him, especially towards the back end of Gerrard. But I think he's proven that he's still the player that we all know he can be. And he's definitely got a future as well. And Emery, I think he said that he's not going to be changing the captain. I'm not too sure if he meant now or at the end of the season. I'm not too sure. But you would have thought that if he's being asked about that, he would say, "Oh, that's something I'll look in the summer." If he was planning to take the armband off of him. So no, yeah, really good. Any other points, Matt, from the game?
Just looking ahead to the next few fixtures now. We've got Everton next week. I'm just looking down now. Palace at home, West Ham away. I hate saying this when got a winnable run of games. They're only winnable if you win them, aren't they?
Yeah, we I remember I did the post match with Dan for Tottenham, and we read out Wolves, Stevenage, Leicester. There was another one in there, and we were thinking, oh, we'll win all of those games, and we've come out with like the worst run that we've had under Emery. But yeah, I suppose every game is going to be competitive. I think Everton next week will be tough. I don't know what the Everton score is. I'll quickly check. I know this isn't. They've just beat Leeds 1-0. That's a big result for Everton. So that'll be a very tough game next week. That's a great win for Everton, actually.
That's going to be bouncing at Goodison.
That's going to be difficult because if they can get something against us, then all of a sudden it looks much better picture for them. I think Wolves are losing to Bournemouth as well at home. And then Palace. Palace is a big game because that's the team that's on our tails, I suppose, at the moment. Because we had a bit of breathing room at the top of the second half of the table. So we need to get results soon, else we'll be stuck again in 14th or so if we don't start to win a couple of games on the spin. If we can get a win against Everton and beat Palace, all of a sudden you're thinking, we can now, climb that top 10 place after a decade. But if not, and we're struggling for wins and sort of performing inconsistently like we were under Gerrard, then you're thinking that it's going to be another season of finishing in 12th to 14th, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, just like I said, just need to. The last three results have not necessarily been great, but you probably don't. I don't want to be defeatist because we want to have greater ambitions than this, but you probably don't expect us to get a great deal from Manchester City and Arsenal. We haven't. Yep. The Leicester one was a bit of a shocker, but we've got a chance to move on again now. Unless I'm wrong, our kind of casualty list seems to have eased a little bit now. Who's out missing at the moment?
I think the only one that's out is Diego Carlos, and obviously he's coming back. So there's no casualties as far as I think. Bertrand Traoré and Tyrone Mings were the only two that were out in recent weeks. So unless I've missed someone out, I don't think we have anyone on the injury list at the moment.
So we're in good shape. We've got how many games left? About 20.
I think it's 16. 16 maybe.
I don't know where I've got 20 from. Yes, we've got a good chunk of games left. We've got a squad that at the moment are fit, and theoretically we've got games that we can be competitive in and go to win. So as grim and as flat and as disappointed as I felt as I've trudged away from Villa Park today, in the grand scheme of things, it's those moments. Start controlling those moments. We're good in attacking moments generally. Start controlling those moments at the back, and I think we can look up with optimism. And what was the last time we finished in the top 10 under Houllier? Was it?
Yeah, it would have been 10. Was it 10-11?
So yeah,
10-11.
I think it would have been. And what's our highest finish since we've got back? 11th.
Yeah.
So. Listen, you're not sure that
it's not all bad.
The difference between finishing 10th and 11th is not suddenly going to, mass riches, but it's just those little signs of progress, isn't it? So I think it's definitely something within our grasp still. So
yeah, I wrote that in a piece. I said the difference between finishing 11th and 10th will have absolutely no bearing to where Villa are when we kick off against the Bournemouth or whoever it is on the first game of next season. They'll have absolutely no bearing whatsoever, but it's just hitting a bit of momentum while we can, because what we don't want to do is, again, win one, lose one throughout the end, from now to the end of the season, and you're finishing 12th and 13th. You don't want the season to peter out like it probably is going to do. 16 games left, as you say. There's plenty of football to play, but also you don't want it to be a thing of we don't have much to play for. I mean, the top 10, if you're not going to start winning games against Everton and sides like that, is just going to not be a attainable target in the end. So we do need to get results. So we had breathing room and now we don't. So yeah, we need to start picking up again. I think Chelsea might have just lost to Southampton at home, or they're losing in like the last seconds. So again, if we could have got something tonight or today, then you go into Everton thinking we can get in the top 10 with a win. So yeah, it's a crazy season, I think, this year. So we'll plough on. I think, yeah, we'll see where we go. Is that Is that everything done, Matt? Anything
Yeah,
else?
before we go, just there's a fella, what was the last home match before today? Leicester, wasn't it? There's a fella I bumped into called Steve Foxall, the head of the Leicester game, who's a Villa fan of many years vintage. So he's a fan. Well, I say he's a fan of the podcast. I think he's a fan of Aston Villa podcast generally. Because he spotted me over the road and he said, "Are you Justin?" And I think is Justin the one who does the is he up the Villa podcast? I think Justin, a fellow bald man. I said, "I'm not." I said, "I'm Matt." Oh, Matt, yeah, I love your show. So he loves one of these shows anyway. So whichever one he's watching, it's good to see you the other week, Steve. Anyway, and I hope you're well. You're not too despondent after today's match. So yeah, I'm done, mate. I'm gonna I think it's chippy tea tonight. A few beers, and then I've got the week off. So everything's good with the world.
Great. I'm working in the morning, so yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for watching and stomaching that 40-minute podcast. And I think we'll be back. I think Dan's back next week. Yeah. I think finally. So he'll probably be doing, I don't know, a midweek show potentially, or maybe just the preview for who we play next, Everton away. That's a Saturday, 3:00, I think. So presser will be Friday. So potentially a video on Friday. Thanks everyone for interacting in the comments as well. And I suppose keep the faith. Up the Villa.
Yeah, up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.